This is Coda the Gamer here again with another deck profile. Today I'm going to do my vampires. So yeah, let's get started with that. So first of all, for my vampire deck, I run 2 copies of Vampire Lord. I don't run more than 2 copies. I don't really see a point in 3. 2 copies is enough. When Vampire, it's a pretty straightforward monster. It's got 2,000 attack, 1,500 defense. You sacrifice 1 monster for it, but that's okay. It's still a great monster, and its effect is basically that when you attack your opponent, and you inflict battle damage, your opponent you get to declare 1 card type, which is monster, spell, or trap, and then that card goes from your opponent. That your opponent chooses a card from their deck, and they send that to the graveyard. Its other effect is basically when it's destroyed by a card effect, it gets to come back on the next standby phase. I've got 1 copy of Vampire Genesis. Vampire Genesis is actually you have to remove from play a Vampire Lord, and then summon Vampire Genesis. Its other effect is you can discard 1 zombie type monster from your hand, and then you get to choose a monster with a less attack than the monster you discarded and special summon it onto the field. Next, I've got 1 copy of Vampire Vamp. She's one of the more newer vampire cards. She's a 2,000, but the reason she's such a high cost is because of her effect. Her effect actually is once per turn when she's summoned or when you summon another vampire monster to your side of the field, you can actually select a monster that has a higher attack on your opponent's side of the field and equip her with it. So that's really, really good. I like that. When she's sent to the graveyard, the equipped monster gets special summoned. When she's sent to the graveyard, the unequipped monster. Sorry, guys. When this card is sent to the graveyard with the equipped monster, I can special summon her back. So if I have an equipped monster and she's sent to the graveyard, I can bring her right back. I can special summon her. All right. Next, I have 1 copy of Vampire's Curse. Vampire's Curse, basically when it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, I can pay 500 life points, and if I do, I get to special summon it during my next standby phase. When it's special summoned that way, it gains 500, so it becomes a 2,000 to a 2,500. So I'm basically paying the life points so that it comes back stronger. I'm not gonna explain the effects of Duke. Duke's actually pretty straightforward. It's pretty much like Lord, but it's basically the opposite to trigger it. So it's a 2,000 It's 1 sacrifice, so it's not too bad. I also have 1 copy of Vampire Sorcerer. And that's it for vampires. Okay, guys. Sorcerer is basically if this card is in your possession, is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card either by battle or card effect. I can add 1 vampire monster, spell or trap from my deck to my hand, and then I can banish Vampire Sorcerer from the graveyard, and 1 dark vampire monster I normal summon this turn can be summoned without tributing. So I could, let's say he's in the graveyard, I banish him, and then I could bring out Vampire Duke or Curse or Lord, right? So Vampire Sorcerer is really good. I would suggest running maybe more than 1 copy. I've only got 1 copy in here because it was the only copy I could find, and that was at a regionals. Okay. Next, guys, we're gonna go into just the zombie type monsters. These aren't specifically vampires, but they're really good for vampires. First of all, I got 3 copies of Shootin' Doji. Shootin' Doji's really good. He's got 2 effects once per, and I can only use 1 of the effects once per turn. His first effect is I can banish 2 monsters from my 2 zombie type monsters from my graveyard, and then draw 1 card. So let's say this is my deck right here. Okay, this is my graveyard. Banish 1, banish 2, draw a card. Okay, guys. So that's pretty straightforward. Next, I've got 2 copies of Spirit Reaper, which is pretty essential. It cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, after resolving an effect that targets Spirit Reaper while it's face up, I get to it destroys it. When this card inflicts battle damage to my opponent by a direct attack, I can discard 1 random card from my opponent's hand. Okay. I also run 2 Mizukis. Mizuki is not a dark type. He is actually an earth type, level 4. I can banish him while he's in the graveyard. Then I can target 1 zombie type monster in my graveyard and special summon it. So yeah, it doesn't have any limitations. I run 2 copies of Pyramid Turtle. Pyramid Turtle is actually a pretty straightforward zombie card. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, I can actually special summon 1 zombie type monster with 2,000 or less defense. So the thing about zombies, or even vampires, or anything zombie really, is that they've got less than 2,000 attacks. So it's really easy to special summon them out. Okay. I've got 2 copies of Plague Spreader Zombie. Basically, I bring him out. I bring out a non-tuner, and I synchro summon into a lot. So you guys are going to see my synchros and my Xyz monsters in this deck later. But yeah, and then his effect is you can place 1 card from your hand to the actual top of your deck, and then you can special summon it from the graveyard automatically. So I can synchro summon when it goes to the graveyard. I can put a card on top of my deck, bring it back out again, and then synchro summon for, like, if it's a level 6, I can synchro summon for, like, Stardust Dragon. So it's pretty simple as that. I run 1 copy of Zombie Master. Zombie Master's like Genesis, but it's not by level. Once per turn, I can send 1 monster from my hand to the graveyard, and then special summon 1 level 4 or lower zombie type monster from the player's grave, from either player's graveyard. Okay. So I discard Chiron. Okay, so I can just discard this guy, or Charon. Okay, Ghost Charon. Use his ability, bring back Vampire Sorcerer, right? And boom, right? And then I can use Sorcerer's effect again and again. So that would be a really good choice. But that's if Sorcerer was in the graveyard, not banished. But yeah, so that's a really good choice. I like Zombie Master, but I only run 1 copy. I don't see more than 1 copy really being anything I would play. I run 1 Ghost Charon. If you guys want to check that out, just it's a very good card for synchro summoning, and I use it for pretty much only 1 synchro monster. That's why I've only got 1 copy in here. And then I've got 1 Doomkaiser Dragon Assault mode. Okay, so that's all the zombies. So that's all of my monsters. I'm gonna go into spell cards next. Okay. So I've got 2 Vampire Kingdoms. So with Vampire Kingdom, all zombie type monsters gain 500 attack during damage calculation only. Once per turn, when cards are sent from your opponent's deck to the graveyard, target 1 card on the field and send 1 Dark Vampire monster from my hand or deck, and if I do, destroy it. So let's say I sent a card through Vampire Lord's effect, and I had Sorcerer in my hand, okay? Discard Sorcerer, and then if I do, destroy 1 card I choose on the field, which is really good. I run 1 Zombie World. Zombie World is essentially for my Plague Spreader zombies. Or sorry, not Plague Spreaders. My Doomkaiser dragons. And all monsters on the field and in every graveyard become zombie types. So I could bring this out, use Plague Spreader, yada yada yada, right? And synchro summon it into Doomkaiser's effect. If my opponent has any monsters in their graveyard, I could just, when Doomkaiser's synchro summoned, I could bring back that monster because it's automatically a zombie. Okay. I run one copy of Mystical Space Typhoon, pretty straightforward. I run 1 copy of Overpowering Eye. Overpowering Eye, select 1 zombie type monster I control with 2,000 or less attack, and it can attack my opponent directly that turn. It's pretty good. Call of the Mummy, it's pretty straightforward. Once per turn, I can special summon 1 zombie type monster from my hand. I must control no monsters though. Book of Life, special 1 copy of that. Special summon 1 zombie type monster from my graveyard and remove from play 1 monster in my opponent's graveyard. That's really good. Polymerization for the only fusion that I run in here. Gold Sarcophagus, basically it's banish a card from the deck, and then after the next 2 standby phases after that, I get the card back to my hand. 1 Swords and 1 Pot of Duality. Okay, so that's the spells. Next is the trap cards. Okay, so I run 3 copies of Vampire Takeover. Vampire Takeover, if I have no cards in my field zone, and all my face-up monsters I control, minimum 1, are zombie-type monsters, I can activate Vampire Kingdom directly from my deck. So I have this face down, and I have a Vampire Lord on my field. I have nothing in my field zone. Activate Vampire Takeover. I get the effect to bring it back to my... bring 1 Vampire Kingdom out from my deck to my field zone. Okay. Other than that, it's got another effect. If then I can special summon one dark vampire monster from my graveyard in face of defense position. That's from my hand though. So if I don't have anything in my hand, I can still use Vampire Takeover because it says can, right? I don't have to specifically use that effect. I also have one magical cylinder. I've got one Duelist League Call of the Haunted. I've got one compulsory evacuation device. I've got one Dust Tornado, one Solemn Warning, Double Passe. For those of you who don't know Double Passe, when an opponent's monster actually declares an attack on me, I can make it a direct attack, and then my next turn I can attack them directly, right? So that's with the monster that was supposed to be attacked. So that's a really good card, and then Assault Mode activate. Okay, guys. All right, next we're gonna go on to the extra deck. Okay, so I run 2 copies of Crimson Knight Vampire Bram. He's a really cool card. I'm not going to explain everything. I'm actually not going to explain any of him right now, because he's got a lot of effects. But if you guys want to check him out, you can check the Yu-Gi-Oh! Wikia. You can check a lot of other stuff. Or you can pause this video and just... there's a close-up there so that you guys can just pause the video and see the effect. Okay, guys? Next, I'm going to... I have 3 copies of Pilgrim Reaper. I've actually been able to use 3 copies in a duel, which is really good. Pilgrim Reaper is... this card gains 200 attack and defense for every dark monster in either player's graveyard. I can detach an Xyz material from the card, and then each player sends the top 5 cards of their deck to the graveyard, or their entire deck if it's less than 5. And I can use the effect of Pilgrim Reaper once per turn. So... I just like to use Pilgrim Reaper in this deck to mill out people, right? Like it's like it's nothing. Okay, and then I've got 1 copy of number 48, Shadow Lich. Shadow Lich is actually a really good card. Once per turn, during my opponent's turn, I can detach 1 Xyz material, and then I can I can special summon 1 Phantom token. Its attacks 500, defense 500. It's a level 1, and then Shadow Lich gains 500 attack for each token on the field. Okay, so that's really good. I like that. I have 1 copy of Revived King Hades, and this is I'm going into my synchros now. I've got 1 copy of Revived King Hades. Negate all the effects of effect monsters destroyed by battle when I attack with a zombie type monster I control. I've got 2 copies of... You know what? I like this one better because it's got the blue rating, because it's a Duelist League. I've got 2 copies of Doom Kaiser Dragon. Doom Kaiser, I've explained before, when this card is special summon, I can target 1 zombie-type monster in my opponent's graveyard and special summon it. Right? So that comes in handy with my zombie world. It's summon the target to my side of the field in face of attack mode, but destroy it when this card leaves the field. So I usually don't leave the card on the field anyway, because I usually bring out Plague Spreader after I summon Doom Kaiser, and then Synchro Summon for maybe another Doom Kaiser, or another, or maybe a Stardust or something like that, right? Next is Ally of Justice, Catastor. If this battles a non-dark type monster, destroy it automatically without applying damage calculation. I've got 1 Stardust Dragon, 1 Stardust Spark Dragon. Okay, which is once per turn during either player's turn. You can target 1 face-up card you control once during this turn. It cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects, which is really good. And I've got these 2 guys, which I'm not going to explain. They're actually just counterparts, but I've got the synchro here. If I'm just going to zoom in on these 2 cards very quickly, so you guys can actually see the effects, and pause the video just to see the effects. I've got 1 Dragocytos, the Corrupted Nether Soul Dragon. Okay. And I've also got 1 copy of Necro, the Nether Soul Dragon. Okay, so I've got all those. That's the reason Polly's in my deck. I used him about 4 times at regionals in the same day, which is pretty cool. So yeah, there's my deck profile, guys. I'll see you again with another deck profile, gameplay video, or game review. Have a good one. Bye-bye.